from T&A Kirk Accountants.
Hi.
Welcome to the Cornwall Innovation Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Tony, what would you say is the main advantage of working with your life partner, Amy?
Yeah, so the T&A in T&A Accountants stands for Tony and Amy.
Yeah.
Amy is my wife. It can bring challenges working with your wife. One of the big challenges we have is that separation between work life and family life. Sometimes it does overspill a little bit, but the advantages play out so much more than the downsides.
What are they? I mean, I'm asking because I only worked with my husband for 2 weeks, and then it's like, nah, I can't do this. That's why I'm asking. What are the advantages? I didn't see any.
No, some of our clients love working with their partners.
Yeah.
Some absolutely hate it and don't want them involved at all. The advantage really is the support. It's when you're going through those difficult times of a business, having to make difficult decisions, and all businesses have them, even businesses that are performing well still have to make tough decisions sometimes. You still have to think about the strategy of the business, what are you going to do, and all those things are running through your head. Having your wife or your partner there with you just lightens that load a little bit, and you can talk about it. You know somebody's there to support you, who knows you inside out, knows where you're coming from. You can just brain dump to them without any worry of judgment, and it just works so well, and just eases that burden. Running a small business is tough, and one of the hardest things we see when people are running small businesses is when they're trying to do it on their own, and it can be a very lonely place running a business on your own, and I've got the advantage of having my wife in the business with me and not having to try and do it on my own.
No, that's incredible, and it's great to hear that you're both mutually supporting, and like I always say, any small business is like a roller coaster, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're going to have those good days, you're going to have the bad days, regardless of, like you said, the revenue coming in, and the profit, not only revenue, but it's having someone by your side to support you who understands it completely. Because I know a lot of people who have small businesses and their partner is an employee. Is very different mindset, and they just don't get it. Why can't you switch off at 7 o'clock? You might be doing some work or something. But how do you manage that separation of, okay, we're home now, let's cut the business, we're home with our family, with our 4 children. How do you ensure that you still get that good balance? I know it's balanced like a seesaw always, but is there any sort of tips you can give listeners who maybe are working with their partners or thinking of working with their partners, how to, not to drive each other mad, either at home or in the business? Yeah,
you're absolutely right. You have to sort of carve out time to deal with business issues, and don't get me wrong, it's not all bad with a business. Like you say, sometimes it's sharing those successes as well, sharing those wins and having the excitement of the things that did go well. One of the things we've done is what we call date days. Now, that completely misdescribes what happened, because it isn't a date at all. But we go out, we call it a date day, and we actually have a day once a month where we get out of the office, get out of the business, we go for a walk, go and have lunch somewhere, and we sit and just talk about all the things that are on our mind to do with the business. We get a pen and a pad out and just write notes and discuss how we feel about everything, where we're going to go, and that's when the best ideas come up. And we find by doing that, you kind of think, right, okay, it's out my head now, we can box it off, and we can go home and concentrate on the kids. And of course, having kids keeps you busy enough as it is anyway, so there's very little room for distraction there. But that's really helped. And on the days of the months where we get really, really busy, and we don't have those days where we go and think about strategy and planning, we really feel it, because it stews in your head, and you start mulling it over, and you're not having that opportunity to share stuff, and it does impact then on the business and on family life, and they're so important. And I always say that to any client we've got that's in it with their partner, just get yourself out of the business, away from the clients, customers, off from the phone and the staff, and just have that clear space to just think.
No, and you're speaking my language. As a strategist, that's something I advise all the time, because the small business owners I'm working with are always busy.
Yeah.
And so often I get oh yeah, well, I'll get in touch with you when it's not so busy. And I said, look, I'm sorry, but I know it sounds, counterproductive, but you're always busy. You always will be busy. Let's make a plan. Let's get a strategy in place. Work per quarter, which I love doing because it's very, very hyper-focused then. And then you avoid the thinking time in your head, which wastes so much time, doesn't it? Rather than getting things done. So I absolutely love that. You have a day for planning, strategizing, getting everything out of your eye. And do you reflect on what's gone well, what hasn't worked, like how to tweak moving forward on those days?
And absolutely. It's that chance to celebrate the success, to talk about the things that didn't go so well.
And what you've learned from them.
And to think, what are we doing next week, but also where we're going in 5 years' time and how do we want to get there and to really, really plan. So it's that all-encompassing review of the business. Yeah. And whether you're working with your wife, partner, husband or not, you really should try and make that time, whether that's a friend you can go out with, whether that's an advisor or someone you can spend the time talking to. It's really important. Too many people get bogged down in the day-to-day doing of the business and needing to get the work out. And I understand that, because if you don't do that, you don't get the cash in and everything falls apart. But if you're not carving out that time to think about the bigger picture and reflect on the business as a whole, it can be so detrimental to the long term. And it's so important to do it.
I love it, and that's something that I advise everyone all the time. And it's, like I said, sounds counterproductive, but it isn't. It's working on the business rather than always in it. Fabulous. Yeah. No, great tips. Thank you so much. For the businesses that you're working with, are they, obviously we're based at Cornwall Innovation Centres in Poole. Are your clients mainly from Cornwall, from outside of Cornwall, or a mixture of both? Where are your clients coming from?
Yeah, we're really fortunate that we've got a national client base. We work with clients from all across the UK. Yep. Probably 40% of our client base is in Cornwall. The rest of it's outside of Cornwall. We have quite a strong client base in the Hampshire area. Nice. And that keeps it interesting. And it's great just to see so many different types of businesses, all in different areas. But even though you've got different businesses spread across the country, you do seem to find common themes with the things people are concerned about, the worries that people have, the issues that they're facing as small business owners.
No, that's something, that's brilliant. That's something, it's nice. I think you have the ability, I remember you were saying beforehand off camera that you travel to Hampshire as well, and it gives you some time out of Cornwall as well to visit these businesses. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So we've got quite a large client block in the Hampshire area. So I go over once a month to see those clients and look after them. One thing we do try and do as a business is try and see people and have that personable connection.
I love that.
With clients. I'd probably get so much more done if I sat in the office and didn't see clients, but it'd also make my job terribly dull. So,
so how important is that for you, do you think, the face-to-face element?
For me, I love it. That is the best thing about my job, is going out, seeing clients, or even just on the phone and talking to them and just chatting with people, and the variety of different businesses that we get to work with. That's what makes it interesting. Otherwise, you'd just be numbers sat behind a screen playing with spreadsheets. But when you actually see the clients and go and have a look what's going off and their units that they've got and the staff issues that they're having and see what they're doing, that brings it to life and it brings the numbers to life. Yeah. And that's what helps you then really understand what's happening behind the business. The numbers will tell you one thing, but you need to put the context to it as well. And that's why I just love getting out and seeing the clients. And
I imagine you can advise them better when you understand the bigger picture, like looking at everything holistically in their business. Yeah. Rather than, obviously business is numbers at the end of the day, otherwise it's a hobby. But I can imagine you understanding their needs, their wants, their time restraints, their personal, obligations which are calling on their time. Yeah. I suppose that then can give you a better understanding of who they are as people, not just, business owners, but it can help you advise them, okay, you're wanting to do X in 10 years' time, so I'd advise you pursue this route of revenue more than maybe this is. So that helps a lot, does it, you think, the in-person element?
Yeah, it does, and you've got to understand the story behind the numbers.
Yeah.
I've come to find that business is very rarely black and white, as it shows you
Yes.
on a P&L or a balance sheet. There is more going off behind the scenes, and you need to understand all those shades of grey that's happening there. And you might look at somebody's business and think, okay, this is great, this has got the potential to triple in the next 5 years. But that person might actually be quite content with where they are and their situation, and they don't want to grow the business. Equally, you might have somebody who's struggling to grow and needs that little bit of support to move out of it. So you need to understand the individual, you need to understand where they are, what their life plans are, what their circumstances are, and that just fills the picture and helps advise then. And then we can take the numbers and try and bring them to life a little bit when we're talking to
I
the
love
clients.
this. You're the most interesting accountant I've ever spoken to, Tony. My gosh, that's incredible. So about the struggles, like you said before, that there's common themes sort of with all different businesses, despite of the different industries that you're working with. So is there a common maybe mistake or misunderstanding that small businesses have that you sort of say, whoa, because you don't know what you don't know. And often I find that working with small businesses, the person or the team are phenomenal at what they do. However, they are not aware of different business skills, maybe, that they're lacking, but they don't know it because they don't know it, you know?
Yeah.
And is there a commonality, maybe a misunderstanding that you have with small businesses that you found, or?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that we see as common themes across businesses. First of all, with new starts, I think people underestimate actually how much time and energy getting a business off the ground takes. You know, you start a business and it can be consuming. And one of the ironic things we have, a lot of people come to us and say, I'm starting a business and leaving employment because I want freedom. And then you find a year and a half in, actually we've got less freedom than when they were employed. And we have conversations about them, and they feel guilty for going on holiday or taking time off because they're not getting the sales out or doing the marketing or trying to grow the business. And that guilt is very, very real. And that's why having that structured kind of time to think about where you're taking the business, you need to lift yourself out of the day-to-day and make it manageable. Because if you don't make it manageable, it's not going to be sustainable long-term. And if you get that right at the beginning and put the boundaries in place and say, okay, right, this needs to be controlled, this needs to be planned, it'll be so much smoother going 5-10 years down the line, and the chances of you surviving that long increase because you don't burn out. I think another common mistake that we see people start, they start a business, they go at it all guns blazing, things go well, the money starts to flow in. Next thing we know, there's some fancy company cars being bought and things like that. And they're not always considering how much a business takes in terms of cash to take it from the start stage to the getting through the growth barrier in the next stage. And one of the things we try and encourage people to do when it's going well is just to rein it in a bit, because every business goes through a phase where it's great, they then need to grow. That takes quite a lot of capital investment. And if you haven't
got it
sort
saved
of just calmed it down, which is why cash flow planning, business planning, that is so important, because you need to be realistic about how you take your business from here to there and what that's going to take in terms of money, energy, resource, support, all of those sorts of things.
Yeah, no, cash flow is one that I experience, you know, with different clients. It's the most important thing, because it doesn't matter if you've got an order coming in 2 months' time, how are you going to pay your rent and eat?
Absolutely.
Before that 2 months arrives, you know. So it's, thank you so much.
One of the most interesting things and common things we have when we sit with a client and review their annual accounts is we say, okay, here we go, great, you've made X amount of profit. And they go, well, where is it? And that comes down to the cash flow, because there's so many other things that will take cash out of a business that aren't necessarily appearing on your profit and loss. And your accountant can say, great, you've got a business that's made £60,000 this year, but in terms of cash, that might only translate through to an extra 20,000 in the bank by the time you've paid for other things. And that's where businesses start to trip up, because they might think they're making profit, but the cash can be a very different story. And that's why cash flow planning is so important.
And that's obviously what you help your clients with.
Absolutely, we can.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. I love that. And with the national insurance contributions, there's been a lot of talk about that and the detrimental effect for businesses building teams because they just put a brake on it and said, well, can't afford it now.
Yeah.
How have you helped manage? Or sorry, have you helped, and also have you seen a lot of small businesses being affected by their growth is being stunted by not being able to employ more people because they can't afford it?
Yeah, it's more the medium-sized businesses that have had the hit on the increase of the employers' national insurance. Because the small employers' allowance increased at the same time as the rate, a lot of our really small clients actually didn't have that much of an impact from the increase in the employers' national insurance contribution rate. So that helped a lot. We did have some larger clients that have been impacted, and we did have to have a couple of conversations with clients of saying, okay, well, this is knocking £10,000-15,000 off of your profit for the next year, which can impact a business massively.
Yeah.
And that had to make them rethink about a growth strategy, their employment strategy, what gain are they getting out of their staff, making sure that every pound that they spend on that resource is working for the business. So we've done quite a lot of work around the cost-benefit analysis of employing people. It's really focused that in. I think the blocker for growth at the moment for a lot of our really small businesses is a bit of the uncertainty. It's not knowing really how things are going to play out, how things are going to play through. And we find a lot of clients just starting to keep their powder dry a little bit, and where they would have been, okay, we're going to invest in this, we're going to grow this area, we're going to throw this at this marketing project. They're like, well, actually, do we need to hold off a bit because we don't know what's going to happen? It's not just the national insurance rates that's changed. There's changes to the rates in dividends. There's lots of changes for sole traders in terms of making tax digital, and all this adds to a little bit of nervousness in the business. But I tell you what, small businesses are incredibly resilient, and it's amazing that no matter the changes that gets thrown at them or all the different stuff, how they find a way and bounce back. But the positivity that we get from our clients it's amazing.
You have to find a way.
If you ever want picking up, just phone around your client list and listen to the positivity, and it's brilliant because they find a way. They do find a way.
I suppose they haven't got the alternative. A lot of the business owners I work with are unemployable. They have to make their business work because they can't have another boss, No,
that's it.
Oh, crazy. Yeah. And being a member of Cornwall Innovation Centres, how long have you been in business, first of all, Tony?
Okay, so we started the business almost 8 years ago now. So
from home or from office?
So we started at home. So when I started the business, I left bigger industry. I was working for a finance director before. I decided to set up on my own. I started the business just wanting it to be a nice lifestyle business where I'd work Monday till Thursday, maybe get Friday off to spend some time with the kids. Yeah. And it was a work at home business. Me and Amy were just going to manage it between us. As the business grew, you then get to the point of, okay, we need staff, we need a bit more infrastructure, and that's where we came to the Cornwall Innovation Centre, because that was a great fit for us, transitioning from a very small business, working in the garden office at home, to actually needing somewhere where we can house staff and clients can come and see us. Yeah. And yes, we moved here almost 5 years ago now.
That's incredible. Yeah, so you passed that magical 5-year mark.
We've got through the 5 years.
Thank goodness. Yeah, well done. And obviously the advantages of being the innovation centres is you can have your team here. People can come in and meet. Clients can come into the centres and meet you. Any other advantages for being part of the innovation centres?
Yeah, I think there's many advantages here. First off, from the client's perspective, it's very easy to find. There's great parking, they can come and park. They come in and they're met with a friendly reception team. Yeah. So it really does give that professional feel for us as a small business, but it also helps the client find their way through to meeting us. We've got use of the meeting rooms, which is absolutely brilliant. It really is fantastic for us as a small business where we can hold meetings with clients, and then also knowing that the staff are in a comfortable, safe environment. Like we said, I travel up country going and seeing clients
Every month.
quite a lot. So I might be away for 2 or 3 days out of the office, but I know that the staff are in a nice environment, they're safe, there's nobody walking in off the street who's going to hassle them, all of those sorts of things. And the security, you know, obviously we have a lot of confidential data that we have to manage. We know that everywhere's alarmed, secure, and it takes a lot of stress and worry away from us being in a building like this.
Oh, that's brilliant. There are lots of advantages. I love it.
Yeah.
And you've been to some of the events that I've organised, the business events, and that's something that I love promoting, because obviously the values of the innovation centres are grow, collaborate, inspire. Have you met anyone in any of those sort of scenarios or who could be potential clients for you, or you could help out, or vice versa?
Yeah, I think there's always people who you can meet and chat with, who potential clients. When I go and meet somebody, I never think of them as a potential client. It's just nice to it's just nice to speak with people.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things we spoke about, the advantage I've got of having Amy working with me and that support. Like I said, there's a lot of people who are trying to do this on their own and don't necessarily have that person who they can just bounce off and chat. And I think being able to go and just see other small business owners is invaluable. And just know that you're not the only one. You know, you're not the only one facing those challenges. Yeah. And it's just great. It can be a very lonely place running a business. And I think if you can go to events and just meet other people and
realise you're not
chat and
you're not the only one suffering.
It's great. I'm really fortunate having Amy, but I think for people out there who don't necessarily have that,
it's more important, isn't it?
And networking can be invaluable. You do need it. And we're quite lucky as well that I get to speak to hundreds of different people through our client base. So you're always having those conversations, you're hearing, you've got a feel about what's happening, what the feel of business is. Not all businesses have that. If you're dealing direct to the public or the consumers, you might not have that touch point of all these different businesses. And I think sometimes you do need to be mixing with other businesses and communicating with people so you can understand what's happening out there.
Yeah, where's the climate, political?
Yeah, and even if that's just reassuring yourself,
Yeah, keep going, keep being resilient.
Keep going.
I love that. And I think the last thing is the digital tax. We've heard about that a lot in the news. And how it's probably going to be easier for, instead of people panicking with this, oh my God, end of January. Chaos just after the festive season. Do you think it's going to make your life easier, your client's life easier, or is it going to be a hassle while everyone adopts this new approach to filing?
Yeah, I think with any change in anything new, there's going to be a period of pain with it. And I don't think we've been through that yet. I think there's still quite a few sole traders that are going to fall under Making Tax Digital, still sticking their heads in the sand and not getting to grips with what they need to do. But it's happening. None of this is going to change. HMRC are very definite that there's no going back this time. Come April, it is live. It is going to be painful in the short term. It's going to mean adjusting and getting people to send paperwork or report quarterly, whereas before they'd leave it right to the year end. But I think long term, I'm hoping there might be some advantages. Like you touched on there, one of the big problems we have as a business is the 31st of January deadline for sole traders looms. It's coming just off the back of Christmas. Nobody really wants to talk about tax over Christmas.
No.
After Christmas, nobody really has got the motivation to deal with their accounts and talk about tax, and everything ends up getting pushed right to the last minute.
To the 30th.
Exactly, yeah. We even have some people contacting us at 5:30. On the 31st,
No.
I have had that before.
Oh, crikey.
And I'm hoping that with Making Tax Digital, because it's forcing it to be done quarterly, it will take a lot of the pressure and the burden off at the end of the year. And there will still be work that needs to be done for the final
year
returns at the year end. But we should have had a grip on what's happening well early, and that I'm hoping will help.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Well, I love working quarterly, as I mentioned before, because you have focus and it just makes everything more manageable. The overwhelm tends to go if you just have that plan. Obviously you have your long-term plan and you have, right, this next 3 months, what am I doing? So I love the quarterly fact. And also I think human nature, general population is last minute, and if you've got a deadline, you will do it by that deadline.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to take away that stressful tendency to leave it to the very last minute. They may do it to the last minute every quarter, so at least it's not so painful.
Yeah. And I think it's about how you frame it as a small business. And we've had a lot of sole traders in a panic and feel that it's something else to batter them down with, another thing that they've got to do. I'm trying to encourage clients to reframe it and look at the positive with it, because if you're having to report quarterly, that means we've got usable data quarterly. And when we talk about really understanding the business, understanding your cash flow, understanding what's happened, you can now have an opportunity to have a very good snapshot of your business every 3 months. The problem with the traditional filing system is if we're filing on the 31st of January, we're reporting figures for the year end the previous April. So you're almost 18 months behind the curve on what's happening in your business. At least now, every 3 months, you're having a real fresh snapshot of your business, and you know what's happening. So take it as an opportunity and see the positives in it. It is going to mean getting a bit more organised, doing a bit more work, but the output that you'll have. And one thing I'd encourage any business owner to do is to have those conversations with your accountant. If you're getting them to do the quarterly returns, don't just look at the email they send you and file it off as right, that's fine, a job done. But look at it and phone them up and have a conversation with them and say, well, what does this mean? Should I be doing anything with this? Yeah. Is this giving you any red flags, or usable, and open up the conversation. We love to chat to our clients, so I'm sure any accountant does. So just give them a call and talk.
I love that. We're going to leave it on that positive note. Tony, thank you so much for your time today. You've been fabulous. Thank you.